Peace, everybody. Whoever's here, sending my love and light. So, today, I'm not sure what I'm going to title this video yet, but I know that the main topic will be narcissism. So, there will be different subtopics, but that's the main topic. And we all hear that word, that they beat that word into the ground, didn't they? Since people start really talking about it in the last maybe 10, 20 years. I know that when in college, I took a class on, well, it was a political science class actually, but the teacher was a little cuckoo. It was community college, that class. And I'm not saying that anybody who went to community college that is not valuable at all, because that man, even though he was cuckoo, like in a way, like he wasn't talking about political, he was going so deep into political science, like it wasn't running the mill political science, but he was on to something, because he had us read a book called The Culture of Narcissism. And I guess he was more looking at things on a society basis. It would have been more like sociology. That's probably what he should have taught. That's probably what he desired to teach. But so it was called The Culture of Narcissism by Christopher Lasch, I believe, because I did look it up like a few minutes ago just to refresh myself of when that book was made. And it was copywritten in like 1979. And it was saying that America was fostering a culture of narcissists. And so this is a condition that's very rampant in our society. But I just want to speak about it. And let me put out a disclaimer that I am not a medical professional. I don't profess to be. I don't profess to be anyone's expert. I did some research on my own on the internet and things like that, just to kind of have some type of scientific understanding. Well, some scientific understanding to guide me with that, with some terms and diagnosis, things like that. But where I'm coming from is a place of spirituality. I'm coming from my understanding of how this all works together in a spiritual manner, because everything is spiritual under the sun, and the two do not negate each other. You know, that's a misconception by a lot, and that's why a lot, you know, some people don't believe in God or the higher power and things like that, because they think, you know, if you're gonna believe in science, you can't believe in God, you know. But you know, the spiritual people know better than that, that God is the creator of science. God is the creator of science. So when he set whatever he set into motion, he also set the universal laws to go with it, and the science that was, you know, to be law. So that's a side note. So, but that is giving you an idea of how that's where I'm coming from, is bringing the two together, and then my understanding of it. So, narcissism, you know, everybody's screaming about it, talking about it, you know, pointing it out and things like that. But I do find some things that maybe people may not think about to have like a different understanding of it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So first, I'll pose the question, which human being's opinion of you matters most above all? And of course, we're going to say ours, you know, yours. Now, ego is the first term I'm going to get into. Ego technically is described as, or defined as, in a psychological manner, a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance, or it can also be personal identity, a person's personal identity, or how you distinguish self from the selves of others. Some places it's defined as conceit. And yeah, that is And on the spiritual definition, I see it says the complete person, body and soul. So I'm not sure exactly, what that all encompasses, that definition, what they meant by that. But I'm going to say that from what I understand, we all know, or we should know, that the highest vibration of all is love. And that's where we yearn to be coming from. That's the place you want to come from with everything. Anything that comes before you, hopefully you could be coming from a place of love when you encounter it, because love is the most powerful, and love is the highest vibrational emotion of all. Now, when you're coming from a place of ego, that ego gets in the way of love very, very often. Ego it's like where ego exists, love doesn't come first, because ego gets in the way. So it's like you looking at, instead of coming straight from a place of love, you put yourself in the equation. You put your self-worth, your personal identity in that equation, and it gets in the way. So ego is very important to master. That is, I would say that's the shadow of love. Love would be the light, ego would be the dark. And mastery is what, self-mastery, knowledge of self, understanding of self is a necessary thing to make you whole. So you have to master the ego in order. That's just another part of you that you have to master, so that you can truly grasp love. All right. So ego, it can be a dangerous thing. So Queen Bee, okay, that lady, it's not even funny how much that lady put some of the most vicious and detrimental messages of our time out here, and to put it to a catchy tune and a pretty face, you know what I mean? But, and I used to love that song. That was my song. You couldn't tell me that I got a big ego, such a huge ego. I love his big ego, it's too much. And then she was on, I walk like this cause I could back it up. I used to go in on that, be feeling myself at the time and all that stuff like that. But that is a horrible message. Terrible. That's one of the most detrimental things in society today. So it does not need to be celebrated. There's a difference between ego and self-confidence, and let me see, do I have that down here? Yeah. Confidence is a beautiful thing, and self-love is the number one necessary thing for a healthy person. But ego is not that. Ego is not that. Ego is not a good thing. All right? So, we gonna speak about narcissists now. The term narcissist is defined as a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves, self-importance, need for attention and admiration from others, and a lack of empathy for others. So that is the loose term, the loose definition of narcissism, or what a narcissist is. So I'm going to go further into that. But I thought about something when I was writing this. I say, Shaitan, or Satan, he was the most beautiful of the angels. And what was he, according to the story? A narcissist, if you break it down. So he was the most beautiful of the angels, right? But so he got in his ego, and he couldn't be humble. You know, he wanted to be worshipped, you know, and so eventually, you know, he was banished from the light. So ego cannot exist in the light. So I just wanted to point that out, that he's actually like the father of the narcissist. He is. Not like, he is. All right. So let me try to move it along a little faster. The narcissist can appear very charming, charismatic. This is all off of WebMD. They usually surround themselves with people who feed into their ego. They build relationships to reinforce their ideas about themselves, even if these relationships are superficial. Now, I know this video is long. I should have said this at the beginning. I know it's going to be a long one. All right. So I don't want to lose this message. This is going to get so deep, and it would be so awesome if, even if you have to go out and then come back to it another time, you know, or something like that, that you don't just check out because of how it seems right now. Because right this moment, I'm just doing the backup terms. Then I'm going to get into it. So I hope that that people get this message. But I'm sure, I know that who needs to get it will get it. All right? So there are 2 root causes of narcissism, according to WebMD. And it made so much sense once I started reading it. The first kind of narcissism is called grandiose narcissism. So remember, they both stem from childhood. The first one is called grandiose. So most likely, they were treated as though they were superior above others in childhood. This is different from cultivating self-love in a child. Now, none of this, matter of fact, is not coming from WebMD. I just saw what they said and read it, and now this is my interpretation. So it's different from cultivating self-love in a child and confidence and believing in themselves and that they can do anything they put their minds to. These are positive, empowering things to instill in a child. But treating a child as superior to others, for example. All right, I'm going to give an example. Picture a little girl named Empress. Say you name the girl Empress, which is a beautiful name. All right. So little Empress, you dress her in the finest designer clothes ever since birth. She got gold and diamonds on before she even took a step at the hairdresser. As soon as she could sit in a chair, catered to, spoiled at the nail shop by age 4. And I'm not saying that these things are all bad, but what I'm saying is it's a slippery slope with this type of stuff. So it's what else are you putting? Are you giving an understanding and making that person know that they are not any better than anybody else because of the things they possess or who they are? They not any better than the other person, than the other person. It's no superiority, but a lot of times, and I witnessed it, people raise their children, they think they doing the right thing, and they raise them and compare them with other children, or they point out what the child has on to them. Children ain't even thinking about that, but they place importance on those type of things, material things, what you got on, prettiness, hair, hair length, you know what I mean? And so let me get back to it. So, and like instilling in them, oh, you can't play with them little nappy head, bald head kids down the street, and I'm pretty sure the parents didn't intend to harm their beloved child, but they're creating a monster. And even things like when you say they have this thing, and I believe this was in that book that I read in that class back in the day, but we are in a culture where everybody gets a trophy. They doing this to the children. You have a competition, say a baseball game, one team win, the other team lose, and then everybody get a trophy just so nobody feels bad. You see what I mean? Do you understand what type of things that this could place in a child, that you don't have to work for what you get, you know? Anyway, let me see. I think I'm going to speak on that in here. But I said they're creating a monster. These expectations follow them to adulthood and grow to display aggression, be dominant. Okay, now this is from WebMD. Be dominated with exaggerated importance. They're very confident and not sensitive. So that's back to the WebMD definition. So that's the first type of narcissism. That's the first childhood stemming, is that. So now the second childhood cultivation of a narcissist is usually a result of childhood neglect or abuse. So these children are usually a lot more sensitive. This behavior helps protect them from feelings of inadequacy or feeling unwanted or unimportant. It's built up as a survival mechanism. So even though they swing from being feeling inferior and superior to others, they feel offended when others don't treat them as special, because they crave that energy to keep them built up. So you understand, this is another thing that stems from childhood. So if they are neglected, you know, then they create this because they feel unimportant, you know, or neglected, and they have to create something inside of them just for them to even keep on going. You know, they got to put a trick off in their mind, like, I'm better, I'm good, and then you need to hear it from other people and see it from other people, and other people have to see you in a favorable light. You know what I mean? So that also, that's the second type, vulnerable narcissism. So you have grandiose narcissism and vulnerable narcissism. So the traits of a narcissist, period: sense of entitlement, superior to others, deserve special treatment, others should be obedient, the rules don't apply to them. So like, that's that. Manipulative behavior, controlling behavior, may first try to please or impress you, wear a mask, like front, put on a front to get you where they want you, pretend to care when unfortunately they don't possess the ability to genuinely care because they lack empathy. They lack true empathy. So then, so I had a little side note. So this is under the manipulative trait. They could be so cunning to manipulate a situation for their benefit. Then, God forbid, they don't reap the outcome they felt like they're entitled to or deserve what they wanted. They'll flip it on you. And on that note, should I say this now? I don't think I'm going to say that right now. But so then they flip it on you and present themselves as the victim and seek to draw additional attention or energy from you or others to further feed their ego. If they can present you as the bad guy, if they continue to present you as the bad guy, lie to themselves or others, this feeds their need to be seen as the superior person, the harmless victim who was done wrong. They need that. And this can also be a tactic used to, if you don't love yourself properly, guilt you into ultimately bowing down to them. So, it's because so you don't end up feeling like the bad guy or whatever. So now I do want to segue into when I'm speaking about, when I said, God forbid they don't reap the outcome they feel like they're entitled to or deserve what they wanted. I want to talk about something called manifestation, right? And I'm going to do a video on it. But let me tell you something about manifestation, because a lot of people have something twisted about that, I believe. So, you know, we believe that, well, a lot of people believe that the Most High, Supreme Being, intends for you to have abundance. Not to want for nothing, and that's why the lessons in life and everything we go through, if we take heed, and it leads us right, and then we vibe on a higher level, become the people who we are meant to be more and more, and all of that abundance is out there for us, like happiness, full for fulfillment, wanting for nothing, you know what I mean? But here's the thing about manifestation and how it's understood today. They came out with this documentary, The Secret, probably about 20 years ago. It was a bombshell, and the great Oprah pushed it heavily on her show or her network. I don't know which one. But that's another slippery slope, because manifestation has different forms. It could be through visualization, like vision boards, speaking something out loud, writing it down. Prayer is even a form of manifestation. It can be focusing your mind on what you want, like obsessively focusing on something. And yeah. So they say be specific when you pray, right? But one of the keys a wise one will understand, no matter what your religion, a spiritual person who is wise will know that we know what we want, but we ultimately don't know what we need. All right? So just because the Most High delights in providing his children with all the abundance that lies in his promise, abundance ain't necessarily every specific thing you ever wanted. Okay? That's not necessarily what abundance is. Abundance is full happiness and fulfillment to a complete level you want for nothing. That is abundance. So abundance is the promise. Not that you should have everything you want. You could want or desire something with everything in you and think that's what you need. But guess what? That doesn't mean that's what's meant for you. So we all have these spiritual practices that absolutely can work in this world under universal law. What you manifest, if you believe, it could be granted to you. But I never exactly agreed that you should be specific when you pray unless you following it up with, and you sincere about this, if it's in your will, Father, if it's in your will, and understand that the righteous heed to God's will and know and believe that he knows what's best for us. This is a misunderstanding that I think have a lot of people astray out here, using universal laws to get what they want without consulting the Most High about what he wants for them. So I had to go off on that because that's a point that if you don't teach your children when they're young, like if you give them everything they want, then you not instilling in them that what they want is not necessarily what they need, so they can't have everything they want. So if you give them everything they want like that and do that, that's how that could form a actual damaged person and a damaged spirit. Because now, how they gonna take heed? How they gonna heed to God when that's what they believe? Because that's all they know. You heard me? Like, that's deep. Dang, that went even deeper than my notes. All right, so back to what I was saying. I said, yeah, they may pretend to care when unfortunately they don't possess the ability to genuinely care. Like they might would go so far and just, I'm sorry for being graphic, but they might blow somebody's head off to get what they want and not think twice about it, okay? So, and they lack empathy. So they unable or unwilling to empathize with the needs, wants, or feelings of others. You may find they don't take responsibility for their own behavior. This may be impossible for them because to them, what did they do wrong? They were only doing what they had to do to satisfy their needs. And since they possess a false or distorted sense of self-love, they feel they were only operating from a necessary place. All right? So then they also have a need for praise or admiration, constant craving for validation from others. They may brag or exaggerate their accomplishments for recognition in some way, in some cases, and their ego must be fed, like an ego vampire. They have to get that ego fed, and it coming from without. It's coming from out there. That they gotta have that. All right. And arrogance is also a trait of narcissism, and I didn't even write like details about that because you know what arrogance is. I would think, yeah. So this world has been a breeding ground for creating and feeding narcissists. Now this is all me. Now the constant feeding for this wicked trait is all over the place because why? Who was roaming around like a roaring lion seeking to devour and take as many with him as possible? The original father of narcissism, the fallen angel, Shaitan. So, narcissism is like feeding from narcissism all over the place. Social media, you know what I mean? If people need approval from other people to feed off of, then wouldn't that supply something for that? That likes. You getting likes on here. You putting up a picture or you put forth an image for people to see. You know, hey, social media, reality TV, music, all over the place. They putting that in the music. You know what I mean? Like, I get what I want. You know what I mean? I get what I want. You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, it's all about me. It's all, like, I can't even, I'm trying to think of something. So I should have thought of something, but you know it. Like, it's all over the place. Like, disregard for others, superiority over others, you know, and things like that. It's fed to our society in the music because who is in charge of the things that are fed out here? The wicked. They running the show. Now, we know who ultimately running the show, but this world, he let them do what they do, you know, at this time. So that's what's going on. So now remember I said what's the things that's creating and feeding them? Social media, reality TV, music, ignorant parents. I'm not talking ignorant in the widely use of the sense, but they just don't know any better. Like due to their own experiences and being out of touch with the Most High, operating in a low vibration, as most of society today does. Also, the vulnerable narcissist, remember that was the second type. They're breeding, it's a breeding ground for that too. Because how many people do you know today who grew up in abuse and neglect? Okay, you got the ones, the grandiose ones that were grown up, spoiled, sense of entitlement, overinflating their ego. You know, that's how they got like that. And then the vulnerable narcissist was grown up in some type of abuse and or neglect. So many people grew up in abuse and neglect today. So many. So parents may have had to work constantly, and they meant well. They was intending to give their children a better life, but the children needed more love, more attention, protection, nurturing. You know what I mean? And it left them feeling unwanted, unimportant, and unprotected. So the narcissism in their personality was created for their own protection unintentionally. But that's the flip side. And then look at how rampant drug addiction is in our society. This also resulted in neglected and abused children. This also was not the parents' intentions, most likely. Most love their children, but living in such a wicked world, parents are dealing with their own abuse and mental and emotional scars. So the neglect and abuse they inflicted on theirs while being caught in the snare of addiction, that could also further the cycle and create narcissistic children. You see? So basically, if you look at it on a broad scale, if you just want to put it simple, and I'm about to say SHIT, all right? So anybody too holier than thou to hear that, you got to you leave, but you're gonna miss a great message. But so the two ends of the spectrum is what I broke it down to. That the vulnerable narcissist, the message they got as a child was, you ain't shit. You ain't shit, one way or another. That's the message that they got. And then on the flip side, the grandiose narcissist got the message of, you the shit. You is the shit. See that? The flip side. And both of them created problems. All right? So, I'm go back to that. So, on the one end, the vulnerable narcissist heard, you ain't shit. You are not worthy of getting what you need. This is what this is what it translated to a child. You're not worthy of getting what you need. And what you think you need ain't valid because I love you. I did my best. But our best, even the best intentions, just possibly might not be good enough. All right? So this is not a hit on the parents. We're humans living and learning. It's okay to make mistakes, especially when you did not intend to inflict this on them. But the fact remains, cause and effect is still real. So you don't have to deny the reality for self-protection. Work on self-love. You don't have to deny that you inflicted that pain on your child or you made your child feel that way. If you didn't mean it, then you make peace with it. You know what I mean? And continue to love yourself through it. You know what I mean? But we got to face facts. So you can know I'm imperfect. My intentions were good, but I couldn't give what I did not possess inside or what I was ignorant of. And so it's okay to accept that. So some people are not at a place to accept that. Some will never be. So if you experience these things, let this serve as self-knowledge and deeper understanding that your experiences created an illness inside. And once diagnosed and facts are faced and accepted by you, then you could dig to the root of the cause. Illnesses can be healed. But if you fail to recognize or face the presence of illness, how can it be cured? It's okay. Love you. And no one else may acknowledge how their behaviors affected you, and so be it. You don't need that. You have to learn not to need that, okay? This is something that is an inside job. Self-healing is an inside job. While it's nice to get acknowledgement and support from others, you must not let that be the determining factor of if you heal or not. So the vulnerable child got the message, you ain't shit. That's what came through to them. No matter what you meant, that's what they heard. On the flip side, the grandiose narcissist got the message, you this shit. You deserve the best at all times, and you don't have to work hard for it. And get it how you get it. Get it how you live. It doesn't matter who you have to step on, lie to, trick, destroy to get it out the mud. Whatever you do is okay. You a princess or a prince, and you always gonna have the best regardless because you deserve it. Because you not like them. You mine. You superior. You better than all of them. You royalty. You don't have to learn respect or you don't have to earn respect or admiration by being an actual good person. You entitled to this because you were born superior. You the prettiest, most handsome, smartest person walking. So it is a privilege to be in your presence. They should be thanking you for even acknowledging them. So keep your head high. Bow down, bitches. Bow to the queen. You see, another one of her toxic messages. This is also an illness created by the messages that child received. And this can also be healed. When I say these things can be healed, anything is possible. You know, I'm not to say who could be healed and who can't, but if there is any beam of light left inside, then that's always hope for a possibility of a healing. All right, so, and it's not up to us to condemn someone either way or the other. Shaitan is cultivating and encouraging this toxic behavior because he's well aware that as long as you're operating from these spaces, you will not love yourself honestly. Your self-worth is determined by outside factors and acknowledgement. So until you get to the core of why you deserve to love yourself, the true reasons, the righteous reasons, not the false reasons, you will continue to be unable to obtain true self-love. You will internally beat yourself up for your mistakes. The ways your illnesses has hurt people, the ego will not allow you to truly acknowledge how your actions have affected others, because that inner survival is still needing that reinforcement that I am somebody, I'm good enough, I'm a good person, stuff like that, to be coming from the outside. So chances are you are a good person and all of that, but the illness created in you, not by your doing, but by circumstance and your experience, that's what you know, it won't allow you to many times acknowledge how your actions have affected others. So, but it's okay. Love yourself. So, if this is you and you want to heal, I suggest these things to work on. Forgive yourself. Face how your actions have hurt others. Forgive yourself, because it did stem from an illness that you did not create. Then forgive the ones who created it in you. Chances are they knew not what they did. They may never understand what they've caused or created in you, because they probably operating out of their own illness that life and this world has created in them. So regardless if they acknowledge it or not, you cannot be dependent on that. You must forgive them. Work on true self-love. And understand, when I say forgive them, that does not mean that you still have to continue to expose yourself to them if they're in an ill state, you know, or if they don't acknowledge. You don't have to necessarily continue to expose. That could be a toxic thing, you know. So you don't have to continually expose yourself to them if it's actually a toxic relationship. Okay, so work on true self-love. Chances are, if you have any beam of life left in your heart, you probably are a good person. You probably mean well. You might have a heart of gold. It could just be surrounded by a wall of mud and ego. That thing, that lion Shaitan took delight in helping you create. God is love, and he loves you. God loves you. All right? Not for all the fake BS ego reasons that you might think you deserve love, but the real things that truly make you beautiful. The real you, not the sick you affected by this world. All right? The things that truly make you beautiful: your heart, your intentions, your strengths, your gifts, your talents, your generosity, the real stuff, not this fake shit out here that people admire. Okay? You can't get it from the outside. You gotta get it from you. I suggest self-love affirmations, looking in the mirror saying, I'm good enough. Like, people think it's funny or dumb, but ain't nobody around, so why don't you just try it? Just stand in the mirror, look yourself in the face, and say, I am good enough. I deserve love. I am healed. I am well. I am a child of God, and I love myself. Even through my mistakes, missteps, and shortcomings. Your self-worth and love has to come from within and not outside. Even if everybody on earth looked at you, judged you, said, oh, she dead wrong, she ain't shit, and she don't give a F about nobody, etc., etc., etc. If you truly love yourself, you from a real place, then you could throw that where it belongs, in the trash, and step right over it. All right? Okay. So, I said you may come to recognize the narcissism in others, or even point it out, or diagnose it, but fail to see that you yourself might be afflicted by the very same illness. It may have had a different cause, root, or degree, but be careful about that. Yes, recognize it in others. Remove yourself from them and their illness, but do not neglect to reflect once you get alone with yourself and dig deep. But if you find it in you, remember, be kind to yourself. Learn to love you, and you'll heal from this. You can be healed. I saw on the website, they said there's no way to, it's no cure. They said it's no cure. Do you understand what this world we live in and the lies that Shaitan got out here? Talk about is no cure, because see, again, they operating from a place of science. So anyway, I got something in here about that, I believe. So if you so happen to encounter one of these individuals and they hurt you, don't you dare wish bad on them or seek vengeance or hate them. This will let darkness into your own soul. Some of these people are so dark, and it's up to them, just like you, to choose light. But this is not your job to fix them or bring them their karma. God knows what was done intentionally, what was not, how they got that way, what created them, what demons may have attached to them and blackened their hearts or their souls. It's not up to you to figure it out, save them, or rescue them from their karma, or purposely dish out their bad karma. Leave it to God, and you work on you. Send love from afar and walk towards the light. You continue to walk towards the light. All right? You don't send nothing out but love. Rather love or nothing. Okay? My opinion, many mental illnesses are actually rooted in darkness and wickedness. And I'm not speaking bad about the mentally ill, but think about this. What I already said, the original narcissist was Shaitan, right? The most beautiful angel. And the Annie's the originator of ego. So he also is the one spreading the wickedness that creates abuse, pain, confusion, ignorance, darkness, which in turn, once exposed to such things, our minds adjust in different ways for survival, like split personalities, bipolar, depression, etc. Seeds that attach to you, your soul, that can be banished by the light and by God. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, that I'm not disregarding, and I got this down here, but I'm not disregarding treatment or anything like that. I'm not disregarding medication, therapy, anything like that. But most likely, those things are going to just teach your body how to learn to live with it, or, I don't know. Just my opinion that, from my understanding, what I've seen and everything like that, to me, it seems as though this is all the root cause is what the experiences you went through, what had to alter in your mind to deal with that, but also something attached to your spirit from that experience, a darkness attached to your spirit, you know what I mean? And if the level of light that you bring in, that you can banish that darkness, you know what I mean? So, all right. So that's that. And I said, a therapist can't necessarily solve it, but it may help. or some pills. It may help. But at the core, darkness cannot exist in the light. Seek the light. Raise your vibration. Pray. Meditate. Heal. Return to who you are in your soul. A child of God, hopefully. Here to serve the purpose he intended for you. All right? Darkness cannot exist where there is light. God is love, and love conquers all, you know. And then I got one side note that I didn't get into. Where'd it go? Oh, man. I had this one other point, but I should be able to remember. All right. So, let me say this real quick. About the narcissist personality, and so you could recognize some of the effects that it could have had on you. Say for instance, and I don't know if Jay-Z is a narcissist or not, but you know, I've seen certain things that show some type of indications of that. If you recall, he used to call himself Jehovah and stuff like that, but it ain't just that, you know. But so, say for instance, how I'm just saying about how he interacts with other people. So, he has gone and attached himself, like he was always off of somebody else. So I was talking, that's what I was talking about, energy vampires and people and how they will attach onto you and suck out what you got to feed them. All right. This is that real darkness. All right. So, boom. Jay, he had a level of talent, you know what I mean? But his success always came through attaching to somebody, sucking them dry, and then discarding them. Started with Jazzo, right? He attached to Jazzo. That's how he got in the door. You know what I mean? Then Dame Dash. He attached to Dame Dash, and that business sense. Dame Dash blew up the business, got him in the door of the business world. You know what I mean? He snaked him. Then, dang, I'm forgetting. It was one more I was gonna say other than Kanye, but Kanye. Oh, I'm gonna forget the Rock, Philly, all the Philly Bulls that he got all around him. He came out with them, and he stole their swag. He stole their slang. He stole he stole his whole street credibility and all of that off the Philly Bulls from the Rock. And then did the same thing with them. Discarded them, right? Then Kanye. And this to me, that's the saddest case of all. Because Kanye was so highly talented and didn't even know it. So, that's what was in my notes. That they'll sit up here and have you thinking that you is less than them. That they made you. Yeah, they had you thinking they made you. When they actually was sucking you dry. And you don't even know it. You didn't even know. So like Kanye, he was amazing producer. So when Kanye started making beats for Jay-Z and The Rock, he really, really blew them to a whole nother level in the stratosphere when Kanye came with them beats. All right? But let him tell it. He actually viewed it as, this my big brother. You know what I mean? I worship him. He was worshiping that bull. And he didn't even realize what he possessed and what he brought to the table. He truly, truly worshiped that bull. That's why when whatever happened with them, whatever, that probably was very, very heartbreaking for him or whatever. But, you know, and that bull, man, I ain't getting into that no further because my point wasn't about them. I was using that as an example. But I'm saying that that's how they do you. That's how they will do you. You could have came in the game confident, focused, you know, ready to just focus, believing in yourself, no fear, you know, full of light, you know what I mean? But if you had that little area of weakness, they can recognize that, hone in on that, and attack it. Next thing you turn around, your whole head spinning and you think you ain't shit. Now you think you ain't shit. You unsure of yourself. You walking around all crazy. You fearful. You nutty all of a sudden when you was a powerhouse. Recognize it. So that's just another thing that I wanted to say. So, all right. Again, darkness can't exist where there is light. God is love, and love conquers all. Love is the only answer and solution. And if you come from a place of love and truth, darkness will flee. It likely won't go down without a fight, but fight it from a place and a position of love. That is the only way. So remember, self-love, forgive yourself. Forgive the ones who created the illness in you. Work on true self-love. You see what I mean? Those are the 3 basic things. So, all right, y'all. That's 51 minutes. Wow. It'd be awesome if people really would watch this. I wish I'd have started it off like more in a catchy manner or something, because I really feel that it's an important message. Most important, like highly important. And so anyway, but I know God will lead whomever it is absolutely meant for to them, and they'll get it at the right time. All right? Peace. Love y'all.